Hello and welcome. I'm Debbie, the Obsessed Painter, and I appreciate you dropping by my studio. The project that I'm going to be working on today is going to be this tall 5-drawer dresser. I've had it for about 15 years, and up until about a week ago, it had all my clothes in it. But I've decided it's time to give it a new life. I'm going to go ahead and show you some before and after shots and everything it takes in between to bring it back to life. I hope you enjoy this project. If you do, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe. And so let's just jump right in. All right, here's the dresser we'll be working on and the decoupage paper and supplies I plan on using. I'm going to go ahead and use some Dixie Belle White Lightning and give this dresser a nice thorough cleaning to get rid of all the waxes over the years that have been put on it. I've got to go ahead and take off the hardware and get that ready. I will not be using that same hardware, so I'm just going to go ahead and save that and set it aside. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and rinse the dresser down with some fresh clear water to get off all the residue from the Dixie Belle White Lightning. And then I'm going to go ahead and check the inside of this dresser. The runners that the drawers set on have been damaged and are loose. The one there on the third drawer is loose. All it needs is a screw. But the the third and the fourth drawer, they've been completely destroyed. So I'm going to go ahead and make replicas of those and just put them inside the dresser. Also, you can see here that there's some damage on the front of these drawers, not too bad, some scratches that will need to be fixed. Okay, let's go ahead and start with the drawers. As you see, I've gone ahead and done some repairs, filled in some gouges and scratches. What I used on that was the, let me see if I can show you here, it's the Gorilla Wood Filler. I did use that, and I also used the white Dixie Belle Mud on the holes where the hardware went. I just like that a lot better than the wood filler when it comes to filling in the holes. They don't shrink up. But I will sand over this with an 80 grit, and I'll just scuff the rest. This wood's in really good shape here. That isn't, that I didn't work on. So I think that what I'll do is just give this a nice sanding off of this, a scuffing of this, and because of the material this wood is made out of, this is a veneer finish on here, and it looks like it's a mahogany finish, or a cherry wood. I would say more mahogany, and what happens is that will bleed through. And so I will be using the Dixie Belle Bonding Boss, and I'm going to use white on this one. The color that I'm going to put on this dresser is going to be the brown. It's going to be a brown blend, so I think the white would work best with this. So we're going to be okay as far as bleeding through, because the Dixie Belle Bonding Boss is amazing. It just locks in everything, and so those bleed throughs, or I believe they're called tannins, it's just part of the paint or the stain that they put on this veneer will not bleed through the surface of the paint and mar your finish. So let's go ahead and get started on this and use a little elbow grease. They always say that the devil's in the details. Well, yes, that's true. If you do not detail up your project and make sure it looks smooth and paintable at this stage, when you do paint it, you're going to see every gouge and scratch that you missed. And make sure you've got a good primer on there that the bleed through won't come through when you're dealing with like a mahogany or a cherry wood. I always just suggest a good primer anyway, but I do love the Dixie Belle Bonding Boss because it just locks it in. Odors, colors, everything. So fortunately this one does not have any odors. It's got beautiful inside, and so what I'll do is I'll condition these with the Dixie Belle butter. Okay, right here I've got one coat of primer on, and you can see that it's going to need two. You can see the streaking through there, and I wanted to show you the tannins right here, how they're bleeding through. See how you can see, like it looks like an orangish pinkish color? So that definitely tells me that's going to require 2 coats of primer. So just to give you an idea of what those look like. The front too has a few spots. Got to touch up on the details. I noticed on the top I had a few spots that I felt like were still a few divots, and I did do a soft sanding in between. So I would recommend that in between your coats of primer, that you just do a soft sanding so that you can get any rises or anything that pops up from the primer. But Other than that, it's looking good so far, and we will go ahead and give this one more coat of primer. Okay, the primer's all on, and that is, I went with 3 coats. Does look like a nice finish. So on to the fun stuff. To give you a sneak peek here, this is where the decoupage is going on the dresser, right in the front, as soon as I get my drawers in. Okay, for the dresser, I have decided to go with 3 colors that are very similar to each other so I can get the blend a lot easier. Just like I say, if you're just starting out learning this blend stuff, go with something that are very similar to each other. I think this one being my light color for my highlight, these 2 being very similar. Again, Dixie Belle paints. Let's see what color we've got here. This one is Drop Cloth, and this one is Mud Puddle, and I believe this one is Chocolate. So I think these 3 will be really nice. So this is what the dresser is going to be done in. Okay, I'm going to show you a little sneak peek here. This is the paper that I'm going to be using to decoupage with. And in order to do that, I'm going to be blending in the edges of these paper. So I need to find some paint that will match this and create my own chalk paint. So I came across a couple of colors here. This one is Tropic Orange, and I think it matches really well in here with this orange color. So if I need it, I've got that Tropic Orange. Over here for the green, I've gone ahead with Dixie Belle's collard greens, and I think that'll go really well. Now for this background, it reminds you of pink, purple. I really can't put my finger on it, but I did find this color, and this is called Blush Pink, and I think it matches just beautifully. I think that'll go really well. So if I need to blend in a little bit, I can use the, let me see if I can get the end there, some Blush Pink. So that one will go there. For the browns in here, I've come across, I believe this one is Dixie Belle's, let me see, Pine Cone, which is a really nice color. And it's kind of a greenish brown, and I think that'll match in right here if I need to do some stems. So I'll leave that one there. Over here, for the really dark colors, I've gone ahead and gone with Coffee Bean, because it's not quite black, it's got a brown tint to it, and it's beautiful. Kind of will match in with these, the crackle that you can see on there, which I'm going to try to blend it in with, and also those dark stems. And then on this little flower right here, again, I've gone with just some acrylic paints that I had. It looks like Americana, and let me see what color. Let me turn it over. Let's see what we got there. Coral Shell, and that kind of matches that tone right there, the light tone. And then I kind of went with this burnt orange color. It's called a tangerine, it looks like. Tangelo orange. And that matches in the butterfly and just these really bright little colors like right here. So if I need to do any additional touch-ups or adding on some flowers to the edge where I want to bleed out my design, I think I've got the great paints for it. So that's just kind of an idea of what's coming up with the decoupage. Okay, right here you'll see that I'm just going to go ahead and take the water and put it lightly around the edges of the decoupage paper to help give it a little bit of a raw edge instead of just such a straight edge. It'd be easier to blend that in with the paints and you won't see such a straight edge. So I tried a little bit with the water. Also thought I'd try to give it a little bit of pinch and pulling with the edge of the paper. Both methods seem to work. Just depends how much time you want to spend on it and what look you're looking for. I think I prefer the water the most, though. It worked out really well. So now what I've done is I've gone ahead and put the decoupage on the dresser, and in doing that I placed it on the dresser and I cut with the razor blade in between each of the drawers once the paper was completely dry. And as you can see up on top, I've got my colors that I'm going to be using to try to blend in the decoupage. Now I did add one more color. This color is Putty, and that's the color you see me putting on there with the stencil brush. it matched the decoupage paper really well, but the decoupage paper, after I started looking at it, had a little bit too much pink in it for me. I wanted a little bit more softer, more cohesive coloring, a little bit more browns in there. So I went ahead and got this putty and I mixed it with the blush color, or that pink color that I had. So mixing those two together allowed me to go ahead and paint around the edge of the decoupage paper to blend it in, and also to paint around the flowers and the butterflies so that I could get the coloring that I wanted, a little bit more brown, not so much pink. And it kind of helped to eliminate some of that crackle look. Really wasn't enjoying all of that too much. It seemed too busy with the other designs on there for me. So just started to go ahead and mix my colors together and see which ones I enjoyed most together. It's just a little bit of trial and error. You've just got to put your colors on, and if you don't like them, then you can go back over them with something else. This right here is the pine cone, and although it doesn't match perfectly, it does blend in well. So if I take the pine cone and I blend that with the putty, the two of them together will help give a little bit more dimension and draw the picture outwards and help to eliminate the line of the decoupage paper. So that's what I'm doing at this point. Now you can see here, as I continue to stencil this in, that the blend is coming along nicely, and I'm really liking that color. Although I am eliminating some of the dark tone, I'll come back and add as much of that as I'd like. I'm going to go ahead and shadow the edges of the dresser drawers here again to give it dimension and depth. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep working with my paints, adding a little bit darker, trying to get the color mixture that I like. I'm really starting to like that one right there. I know later on in this project I'll come back with the darker brown wax as well, and I will do waxing around the edge of the drawers again to give it that framed look. But yeah, all I did was keep messing with my colors until I got one that I really liked, and I think this one really worked. And you can see right here where I'm just kind of using a sponge even to kind of help blend that in a little bit. And I've added some darker values in there using the coffee bean color. And I'll just keep doing that, adding a layer over top of a layer, and so I can get just the mix I like. I like this cloudy look, and this turned out to be a really fun project. Well, here it is, all blended in, my version of blending. And now I'm going to take and paint back in the stems and brighten up the flowers. And then I will start on the body of the dresser. But I think it turned out well. I like the blending. It's kind of cloudy-ish. I like that, where we've got a little darker up in this corner, and then it kind of drifts on the edges because the dresser will be darker on the sides. So I think that'll really work. But I am pleased, but now I've got to go in and touch up these vines. I've got the colors up here for the flowers and the vines. Right here you'll see on my palette are the orange colors, and I also use the drop cloth. I'm going to mix these colors together to help me reach the color for these flowers that I want. Okay, there it is. I've highlighted it with a little bit of gold highlighter pen. Just here and there, touching up. Darkened up my butterflies, added a little color to the flowers, and again a little gold to the leaves. And I believe that will do it. I believe the front of this is done, and now all I need to do, let me pull back here, is I'm going to paint the sides. I'm going to go ahead, start my sides, add my molding that I had already casted for it, as far as some decorative trim, and go from there. Okay, right here what you'll see me doing is I'm going to go ahead and with the mud puddle I'm going to start my blending, and this is just my first coat. So I went ahead and put my first coat on. I'm going to put that around the edges, round it in nicely. I'll fill the center in there with the drop cloth to give me my highlight, and I'll just go ahead and get this one ready to go. And as soon as I get this side done, I'll work on the other side while this one dries, and then I'll come back and I'll give both sides a second coat to really give the blend its finished look. So this is, you know, just laying down my colors right now. It's not my official finished blend, but it just gives me an idea of where I want to go with this. And I'm just using my mister and my 2 separate brushes for the 2 separate colors, and then you'll see my large brush there, and that's what I'm going to use for my blending. And I'll also be using a paper towel or soft cloth just to keep that brush clean, because that's to be a dry brush. I'm going to go ahead and help, you know, keep that brush clean so it's good for my blending. Okay, here I am coming in on my second coat, and you can see it's dark. I'm darkening up the edges, really getting that mud puddle in there and making it really even coat, so that when I put in my drop cloth, I'll be able to blend it all in and get a nice smooth blend. Okay, and here I am just misting it a little bit more and putting in my drop cloth. You know, this blending takes a little bit of time, but you really can't mess it up. If you get to the point where you don't like it, paint over it again with your darker color, come back with your lighter color and try to put your highlights back in. It's very forgiving. You just need to kind of keep working with it. Take a light hand when you're brushing and doing your blending, and it will smooth in neatly. It's amazing. You'll just get a knack for it eventually. And mind you, I'm not a pro at this by any means, but I really am enjoying it. And, you know, I'm just going to kind of keep working it until I get the look I want. Okay, I just wanted to show you a little bit about the details that I'm going to be putting on this dresser, just a sneak peek. I went ahead and used this amazing casting resin. Let me tell you what, this is amazing, like it says. You just take these 2 parts equally in the little cups that they provide you, and you mix it until it's clear. It'll immediately turn cloudy, but then you mix it until it's clear. Oh, about 30 strokes. I just 30 seconds worth of stroking on that. And then you just pour it right into these little molds, and there's no need to put any type of cornstarch or anything. It just goes right into the molds, and it sets up so fast. When it starts to set up, you'll see it turn this color right here, this white color. This one came right out of there, and you'll see it starting to turn this white color. And as soon as it turns this white color, you can pop it out of there, and at that point it will be very flexible. Now this one in particular has sat up for a while, so it's more rigid. But if you had a curved dresser or a curved table or something that you wanted a curved detail around, when you pop that out the first time, you know, you can curve it and have it go right to the shape you want and tape it on your piece of furniture, so eventually as it hardens up, it will harden into the shape that you want. And so on this one I did, again, see there's the back of that one. I did the top one because I'm using it, and this one I'm going to use 2 of these, and so I poured quite a few. But then what I did on mine is I used the gilding wax. I went ahead while it was still slightly you know, just right out of its mold. It says if the sooner you paint it, it says on the box, the better the paint takes, or the gilding wax. It didn't make a difference. I painted a couple. This particular one I painted immediately. This one I painted 3 or 4 days later, and there's not a difference, as you can tell. So I really recommend the amazing casting resin. Okay, as you can see here, my castings are done, and I'm just covering them with some gilding to get them ready for the dresser. Also, I'm painting the inside of the drawers. I'm just painting the back side of the drawer. The inside wood was in really good shape. It was just the very back of the drawer, or I should say the back of the front of the drawer, if that makes sense. As you can see here, that was in need a little bit of work. And also I had filled the holes for the hardware, and so I kind of just wanted to cover that up and give it a nice clean, neat look. Otherwise the wood was in great shape, and I was able to use the Dixie Belle butter in there and get it looking really nice and shiny. Also on the top, I decided to go with a separate color. I wanted to go with the coffee bean. Wanted it to be a darker, richer color, so I put the coffee bean on just the top, so I taped that off a little bit and got it going. In the coffee bean, I put some gold flakes in there that I had gotten from Home Depot right by the paint department. It was just this gold dust, and I mixed it into the paint to see if I could get a nice little glitter, and I did. It looks really nice. So I was glad that I went ahead and did that, but I got a good coat on there, and as you can see, there's a little bit of gold glitter in there that turned out really nice. So here's the dresser with the top done, and I did add some gold gilding onto those little decals on the side, those raised emblems there on the side. And then I decided that I'd like to take the drawers and give them a little stenciling so that when you pull out the drawers, it's got a little decor to it. So I went ahead and used this Dickum stencil, and I used the gold gilding again, and just went through the stencil and got it looking really sharp there on the side, just again to give it a little extra detail when you're pulling your drawers out. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start with my tape now so I can get my dresser ready for the stripes that I want to paint on it. And you'll see I've laid 3 pieces of tape there. I used one for the center, and then I placed a piece of tape on each side of that center tape. Then I'll pull out the center tape, and that right there is the start of my spacing. So I'll continue to do this. I'll put the tape back on, lay another strip of tape, and then I'll pull that off. Now that I've got my stripes all done, I'm going to go ahead and play with the castings that I made earlier. And I'm just going to take some tape and tape the castings on where I think I want them to go on the dresser. You know, at this point it's just a matter of taping them on, seeing if you like it, see if it's too much, too little. It's just a matter of what you want your dresser and your castings to look like on your dresser. So I went with this long one here, but in the end I didn't end up using it at all. I just used the shorter one because less was more at this point. Then what I've gone ahead and done is I've just used the glue to give me nice full coverage on the back of the castings, and then what I'll do is I'll place it on the dresser. I'll either tape it, or I've got some clamps that I'm going to go ahead and put on it that will hold it in place while it dries. While I had the clamps there, I went ahead and wiped off all the glue that came over the edges, and I just used a paintbrush to get in there and get that glue off, any glue that squeezed out from beneath the casting. I didn't want that to mar my casting and or the dresser. And here you can see I've got the rest of my castings. Again, I'm just putting glue on there, nice full coverage, so that it sticks really well and I won't have any problems with any of it coming off. Also, I'm going to be putting this along the top of the dresser on the sides above where I put the striping. I think it really adds a nice little flair to it, just enough to give it a little bit of gold bling. So here you can see the sides with the striping and a little bit of the shadowing of the brown wax that I've started, and with the border on the top. I think it looks really nice. Okay, now as you'll see here, once the dresser is done on the sides, I'm going to go ahead and start the top, and I've taped that off so that I can use some Dixie Belle gator hide on there. It did take 2 coats of the gator hide on top. I just wanted to make sure it was good and covered. So the dresser is basically done. I'm thrilled with it. I think it turned out gorgeous. Well, here's the dresser all finished. Got the hardware on. You can see the beautiful striping on the side and the molding. And then along the side of the drawers, you can see a little bit of the stenciling. The insides are all cleaned up and oiled down with the lemon verbena. beautiful hardware, the casting out of the resin. And there it is. Well, that's it. I appreciate you being here with me and coming along on this journey. I had so much fun doing this project. It was just a blast from start to finish. I love it. It just stimulates my creative juices, and I really am glad that you were here with me. And if you enjoyed this video, just hit the like and subscribe. And I'm going to go ahead and get ready to head on to my next project. And I hope to see you there as well. Happy painting!